Hi there again. In this video, we will move this data to Azure Cloud. So let's start the process of moving this data to Azure Cloud. I have logged into my Azure account. Now, the first thing we will do is we will create a resource group. So click on search and type here resource. Click on resource groups. Click on create and now give the resource group a name. So I will give it a name Azure Proj dash UAE North dash RG for resource group, and the region is UAE North, and I have selected it because it is closest to me, but you can click on it and select the region which is closest to you, and you can see there are multiple regions, right? Okay, next, and skip the tags, next, and click on create. Now you can see the resource group is created. Alright, now next step is to create a storage account. So again go to search and type here storage. Click on storage accounts. Click on create. Now select the resource group which we created, Azure Proj, UAE North and RG, and now give the storage account a name, and this will be Azure Proj and then UAE North ST for storage account. Now in the storage account, you cannot add brackets. Like you can see, it only contains letters and numbers. So that's why I have not added any dashes here. And the region will be UAE North. And the primary service, you can click on it and select the blob storage or ADLS, Azure files or tables and services, tables and queues. But I will just keep it as it is, and the performance is standard. This is basically if you want, if you are in a scenario that requires low latency, and that's when you select the premium. Otherwise, for most scenarios, standard is what goes. Okay, and now for the redundancy, select the GRS, but I will explain all these as these are a bit important. So we will start with locally redundant storage or LRS. So basically it stores data within a single data center, and it is least redundant, and it's also lowest cost. And for the GRS, geo-redundant storage, it replicates data to a secondary regions which is hundreds of miles away, and basically it is for data for disaster recovery. And ZRS, zone redundant storage, and what it does is it spreads data across multiple availability zones in our region for high availability, and it's costly. And now GZRS, geo zone redundant storage, and what it does is it combines GRS and ZRS, and it is best for critical workloads, and it is the most expensive one too. So next, now in the advanced section, enable this option requires secure transfer for REST API operations. With this option enabled, only HTTPS requests can access the storage account, and not the HTTP but HTTPS. And allow enabling anonymous access on individual containers, leave it as it is, and enable storage access keys, enable it. And what it does is when you enable storage account key access, you allow applications and users to authenticate to the storage account using one of its access keys. Now let me explain why this is important. Let's say you want to send data from your Azure storage account to Power BI to build a dashboard. To do that, Power BI needs to connect to the storage account. And one way to authenticate that connection is by using a storage account access key. If key access is enabled, you can copy the access key from Azure and use it to connect Power BI to your storage account, allowing it to read the data. And now the next option, default to Microsoft Entra authorization in the Azure portal, leave it as it is. And minimum TLS version, TLS is transport layer security, and select the latest one, which is 1.2. And permitted scope for copy operations from any storage account. And don't forget to enable the hierarchical namespace. So what it basically does is it just gives a structure of files and folders. It's basically stores data in file and folder structure. Okay. And enable SFTP, leave it, and then leave everything as it is. And access here will be hot. And next, in networking section, network access will be from all networks, and we don't need a private endpoint at right now. And routing preference will be Microsoft network routing. Next, now this is the recovery option. And now basically what it means is, like, let's say if you have created a container in a storage account and accidentally you deleted it, then these are the number of days you can retain the deleted containers. And the maximum is 365 and the lowest is 1 day. Okay, so I will just leave it as it is. And it is same for the blobs, containers and file shares too. And for the versioning of for blobs and change feed, leave it as it is. And if we want the time based retention policy, then we enable it, but right now we don't want it, so click on next. And this is the encryption section. So encryption type will be Microsoft managed keys, and customer managed keys will be blobs and files only. So next, for the tags, just skip it. Next, click on create. Now let's wait for storage account to be deployed. Alright, once the storage account is deployed, click on go to resource. Now in the storage account, we want two containers. That is, one is raw data and the second is transform data. So let's create the containers. So click on containers under the data storage. Click on add container. So right here, raw data. Click on create. And again add container. And this time it will be transformed data. Click on create. Okay, now this much work is done. Now the next step will be to deploy a data factory to move data from on-premises to Azure Cloud. Search and type here data factory. Click on data factories. Click on create. Select the resource group, Azure Project, UAE North and RG, and give this data factory a name. And this will be Azure Project and UAE North and sorry, DF for data factory, or you can simply do factory. Okay, and the region will be UAE North. Version will be V2 and configure Git later. And in the networking, I don't want a managed virtual network, so I will not enable it. And connect via will be public endpoint. So next. And now for the data factory encryption, I don't want to encrypt the data factory, so I will leave it as it is. And next, tags, leave it as it is. And next. Once the data factory is deployed, click on go to resource. Now here is our data factory. Okay, and if you don't see your data factory here, just click on refresh here. Okay, so let's go to the data factory and launch studio. Once the data factory opens, click here, and you can see here are some options like home, author, monitor, manage, and learning center. And author is basically where you create all your pipelines, data flows, Power Query, etc. Okay. And monitor is basically where you monitor the pipeline runs, trigger runs, CDC, and etc. Okay. And in the manage section, you can create integration runtimes, link services, like here, link services, integration runtime, Microsoft Purview, ADF in Microsoft Fabric, Git configuration, ARM template, etc. Okay. So the first thing we will do is, if we go back to the diagram, you can see in order for on-premises data to move to data factory, we will need a self-hosted integration runtime. Okay, so we will install a self-hosted integration runtime on our PC. So click here on integration runtime, and you can see one integration runtime is already running. Okay, so basically this is a cloud to cloud integration runtime. And basically, if you want to move data cloud to cloud, then you use the Azure Resolve integration runtime, this integration runtime. But if you want to move on-premises data to Azure cloud, then you have to use self-hosted integration runtime. So click here, new, and you can see there are three options: Azure, self-hosted, Azure SSIS, Airflow. So click here, Azure self-hosted, continue, self-hosted, continue, and select the name here. I will give it a name as self-hosted integration runtime. Okay, and click on create. Now you can see here are two options. One is express setup and the second is manual setup. In express setup, everything will be done on its own, and in the manual setup, you have to do everything on your own with the authentication key given here. Okay, so I will just go with option 1, express setup. So click on it. Yes. All right, now it takes some time for integration runtime to download on the computer. Okay, so let's wait for it. Now, once the self-hosted integration runtime is installed, close it and close it. Okay, now you can see the status is running. Now, what we have done is we have installed a self-hosted integration runtime. And what it does is it creates a connection between Azure Cloud and our PC. So now we have to give the location where our file is. Okay, so for that purpose, we have to create a link service. So click on link services, click on create link service. Now here we have to select our data store. So our file is in file and folder structure. You can see this is the folder Azure Databricks project, and this is the file which we need to move to Azure cloud. So search here file and select the file system, click on continue and name it file server, let it be as it is. For the integration runtime, select the integration runtime which we created, which is self-hosted integration runtime. And now here you have to give the location of the file. So go to the folder where your file is. So, and copy this path and paste it in here. And now give the username and password. And this username and password is your computer's username and password. Okay. And now test connection. Okay, it's giving an error which is connection failed. Why? Why is the connection failed? Access to the location is not allowed. Okay, so now we have to fix this error. So go to the file explorer and go to the this PC, local disk, and program files, and the Microsoft Integration Runtime 5.0, and shared, and copy this path. And now go to search and search here partial. Run as administrator. Yes. Now type here cd space strings and paste the address here. Now type here dot slash dmg cmd space dash disable local folder path validation. Okay, and there can be no mistakes here. Okay, so you can see the first letter is capital of every word, so enter it, press enter. Okay, now try the connection again. Okay, now it is saying the integration runtime is busy, please try the operation later. Okay, okay, let's search integration runtime. Yes. Okay, so let's wait for it to connect to the cloud service. Okay, now it is connected. So minimize it and try the connection again. Very well, the connection is successful. So click on create. Now the next step is to create a pipeline. So go to the author section and in the pipelines, click on three dots and click on new pipeline. Change the name to just pipeline. Okay, and oh, all right. So now you can see here are some activities. So click on move and transform and drag the copy data here and name it to ingestion or data ingestion. So the source will be, we have to create a source here. So in what format is our data set in? Okay, so it is file. Click on file. So the format of the file is comma separated. So we will select here CSV, delimited text. So let's name it as source, and link service will be file server which we created. So now you can see the file path is automatically here. So now just click on it, click on the browse option and select the data set, and here it is, dirty data.csv. And for the first row as header, so let's go to the file and you can see the first row is header. Okay, so enable it, and schema will be imported from connection or store. Okay, and now you can see there are some options here like file path, filter, and recursively, etc. Okay, you need not to worry about any of these things, but you can preview data if our data is loaded successfully or not. So you can see here is our data and adjusted gross, and you can see here is it. Okay, so close it And now we need to give a sink where our data will be going to. Okay, so where is our sink? Our sink will be the storage account which we created, and more specifically it will be a container which we made, which is raw data. Okay, so click on new, and here will be ADLS Gen2. Continue, and for the easiness I will just go with delimited text, otherwise the most optimal way is Parquet format. Okay, so delimited text, and let's name it sync. And link service, we have to create a new link service. Let's name it ADLS Azure Data Lake Storage. And now integration runtime will be auto resolve integration runtime because our data is already on cloud. And for the account selection method, it will be from Azure subscription, and Azure subscription will be this one, and storage account will be Azure Project UA North ST storage account. Okay, and test connection to link service. Now test the connection. All right, click on create. Now select the file path to where your data will be going to, and it is raw data. Click on OK. First row is header, and schema will be imported from connection or store. Now if we go back to the architecture, then you can see once the pipeline runs, we need a logic app in place which will send the email if the pipeline is successful or not. So for that purpose, we need to create a logic app. So let's go here and search here logic apps, click on add, consumption, multi-tenant, select. The resource group will be Azure project, and logic app name will be Azure project dash UAE North dash logic. Okay, and region will be UAE North, log analytics. No. Okay, tags next, click on create. Once the logic app is created, click on go to resource. In the logic app dashboard, what you have to go to is logic app designer under the development tools. So click on it. Now we need two things in place. One is we need to set a trigger, and the other is we need to add an action. So for the trigger, click on add a trigger, and here write HTTP. So and it will be when a HTTP request is received. The HTTP URL will be generated after we save it by here, okay, by clicking here. And the method will be allow all methods. Now here I will write a sample schema which I will want in my email. Okay, so I will write it here, and that will be type and object. So here comes the properties. So the properties will be, so we want, what we want in the mail is we want to get a pipeline name, pipeline status, pipeline ID, and also the time in which it ran. Okay, so it will be pipeline name, type, and type will be string. And the status, string. And there will be run ID. Type will be string. And finally, I want time. Time will be string 2. Okay. Alright, now the next thing we need is we need to create an action. Okay, so click here, click on add an action, and the action will be mail, send mail. So the connection name will be as it is, and authentication type will be use default shared, application, and sign in. Choose the account and continue, continue. So now we need an email address where we will be receiving an email. Okay, so it will be, and the parameters will be subject and body. Subject and body will be what we will be getting an email. Okay, so the subject will be pipeline run report. So now what I want here is I want pipeline name and pipeline status, run ID, and time. Okay, so it will be pipeline report. That's this will be the heading, and this will be name, status, ID, time. Okay, now just save it. All right, now go back to the, now click on the HTTP request and copy this URL. Okay, and now go back to the data factory. All right, now we need a web here, web activity. Now this web activity will be success, and its setting will be URL will be this one. Copy the URL here, paste the URL here, and method will be post. Now click on the dynamic content here, and now here we will capture the pipeline details. So write here as a write. So write here pipeline name, status, No, actually it will be succeeded. And this one will be run ID. Run ID. And the last one will be time. @UTC now. Okay. Now, wait a second, I'm missing something here. And it is curly braces. Yep, there will be curly braces too after and before the strings. Okay, now press OK. And we need another web activity, and that will be for failure. Okay, so name it failure. So the URL will be the same one. By the way, this URL is of HTTP URL. Okay, so next will be method will be post, and for the body part I will just copy it. And for the place of succeeded, I will write here failed. Other detail is same. And authentication type will be none. For the success activity, drag the green tick to it, and for the failure, drag this cross to this. Okay, so I will just make it here. All right. Okay, now validate it. Okay, no errors. Now just debug it, or you can also schedule it, but I will just debug it. So now the pipeline has run, and we should get an email. So let's go to email, and you can see here we got an email, and that is pipeline report. The name is pipeline, status is succeeded, and there is the ID, and there's the time. Okay, so now if I go back to my storage account and to the container, in the raw data, you can see there is a dirty data. In the next and final part, we will thoroughly clean data in Databricks, and then finally move clean data to Azure Data Lake Gen 2.